different.
Got it out of the group.
I think that's the issue with a lot of these sorts of things. So, but we are here. So, all right. Well, Brittany, if you tell me when I'm ready, I'll.
You're good. Yeah.
Okay. We got all our poets. That's what's important. All right. Good evening, everybody. Hello. I'm really excited to be with you this evening and to bring you the poetry of John Dorroh, Tim Fox, and Jim Hanson. Before we get started, a couple of announcements that are pretty much the usual. We continue to take things month by month. We are still in a pandemic, despite evidence otherwise. So thank you for your patience as we continue to adapt as the world continues to adapt. So thanks for keeping everybody safe today. If you have a mask, please do keep masked up unless you're a poet up here at the mic. A few quick shout outs, always to members of the St. Louis Poetry Center. I know a couple of our poets just became members, so congratulations. Welcome to the Cool Kids Club. A shout out to the Missouri Arts Council, whose support helps to make this series and other stuff possible every year we do it. I was just talking about how fantastically wonderful the Focal Point is. So we're very grateful to them, to the space, and for them keeping the lights on throughout all of this nonsense that we're all going through. Quick housekeeping to y'all. You probably know this. Bathrooms are out this door and to the left. If you want to go next door to Casa Maya, please do support that local business. Buy some drinks, bring them over, and return that glassware when you're done. And I believe John also has some books for sale. So walk up to him and spend some money on some local poetry after this is over. If you are watching this on the live stream, welcome to you also. We're really glad to have you. Pretty please comment. Pretty please share the link. Our house tech genius, Brittany, will keep an eye on that and relay some questions to me if you have those for the poets. If we have time, no pressure to the poets, between when they finish their reading and when we are done at 8:30, I will bring them back up for just some informal question and answers. So please do post those to us, and we'd love to include those. If you're viewing this after today, which is August 23rd, I didn't change my notes. What's the date today? Thank you for checking out the video. We still want you to participate, so please do share the link, and please do share this, because we want to gain some momentum not only for this reading series, but for these poets' work as well. So, on to the poetry. John Dorroh has never fallen into an active volcano or caught a hummingbird. However, he managed to bake bread with Austrian monks and drink a healthy portion of their beer. He wrote his first poem on the bathroom wall with his mother's red lipstick, and he hopes that his work has evolved since then. 2 of his poems were nominated for Best of the Net, and others have appeared in over 100 journals, including Feral, Pinion, North Dakota Quarterly, River Heron, Burning Word, Many Fine Donkeys, and Selkoof Station. His first chapbook, Swim at Your Own Risk, was published in March of this year, and his second one, Personal Ad Poetry, was just very recently published. A third, This, My Pie Hope, and other related tidbits, is still pending. I'll let him tell you that story if he is so inclined. But please welcome to the Poetry at the Point stage, John Dorroh.
Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, Brittany. Okay, let me get situated here. There we go. It will be real strange if I don't talk a lot in between the poems, but I'm going to try not to. And then at the end, when we have more time, maybe do a little dancing song. First of all, with hundreds of poems and only 15 minutes, it's real difficult to choose 15 minutes worth of poems. It's almost impossible. And these poems are a combination of published and not published. Some are old, and when I say old, maybe 2 years, and then others really fresh, like in the last week. I'm going to read one from Swim at Your Own Risk and one from Personal Ad Poetry. And these are very lighthearted and fairly new. And then I'll read a couple of favorites, and that will be that. Then we'll go on to hear from Tim and Jim. The first group of poems I've titled Family. I love my family in spite of them being dysfunctional. Just a little. It seems that most Southern families are a little bit like that. Maybe your family as well. And notice the reference to food. My poetry is peppered with food because, as you can see, I'm quite a consumer. The first character in my family I would like for you to meet is Grandpa, and the poem's called Grandpa's Compost Pile. It began years ago in Grandpa's playpen and lab. Dead grass and spent corn cobs, coffee grounds, and arguments. I heard tales what should and could not work down there. Worms, like cooked spaghetti strands, offered their magic free of charge. No bones and fat and putrid dairy. Corn cobs take forever. The glow was there that night, emitting heat, something nuclear, unclear for me just how it worked and why it possessed such pull. His theory was that one needs a partner to appreciate its power, that old miserly recluses miss it altogether, using it as pillows for their dirty sleep. The ground accepts the power, endorses it wholeheartedly, ferociously begging the masses to submit to the biology of life. It's cycling and recycling and natural supremacy for genetic stability. It catches you off guard, redirects your attention to what is real and dangerous, like thieves in your house at night. Thermophilic organisms that no one sees, subcontracting with the worms and fruit flies, worshiping internal guts, the rapid infection of putrefaction and things that rot in the night. It is the way things go, like it or not. It is a glowing, warm thing that Grandpa loved and poked weakly with his rusted, wicked pitchfork. Kitchen dance. This one now, my mother and father. My mother and father made smoke in the kitchen over hot pans and pots, over hot water and oil, over time, over each other's bellies. They danced in front of the oven until fire shot from their feet, showed us how love looks at the end of a long workday. It was more than sustenance, the manner in which they made time for feeding us, how they taught us to squeeze art from a biscuit. They never advertised or led us to the table with a noose around our necks. They had black-eyed peas, mashed potatoes with gravy, fried chicken, and cathead biscuits. They never demanded that we eat everything on our plate. Our knives and forks fashioned their own dances, our tiny fingers wrapped around their metallic waist, hoping and praying that sparks would jump from the plates into our mouths, down through our legs, out onto the kitchen floor. So you heard that one. My mother's next. My mother was a dredger. My mother slipped her liver into the black skillet that her mother passed down to her. It was well seasoned and did unexplainable, miraculous things. She and Jesus fed the masses. He with his fishes and loaves, she with everything else. Chicken and dumplings as flaky and light as cumulus clouds, fried chicken that could make fasting disciples lose their focus for the rest of the day. She soaked her heart in egg white and buttermilk, dotted it with pepper and salt, dredged it through flour, and lay it gently into a shallow liquid bed of angry oil. The hot spit of the first morsel plunged by its neck into a molten kiss, sealing its fate to be placed on a plate for Holy Communion. It was her own meditative, reflective therapy to bake a moist coconut cake from scratch, pounding a hole in the coconut, me standing under the cascading milk, baptism at home, on the kitchen floor. What a beautiful mess we were. dad, a genetic imperfection. I saw him in a dream last night, my father standing beside a murky river, looking up into the orange sky, waiting for the tumor to split wide open and spread into his pockets. His muddled song, his aquamarine fury too. He let me sip his beer. I told him it tastes like horse piss. We went fishing on the Luxapalina River, ate sardines and crackers for lunch. I showed him how I gutted worms into tubes that slid onto the hooks like a glove. I could tell he was proud, but couldn't find the words to say it. Some men live like that, like mathematicians who can't solve their own equations. He handed me a polished pecan that his father handed to him before he went to war, before he got married, before he cut the bridge of his nose on sea coral somewhere in the South Pacific. I think he expected me to give it to my son one day, but that never happened. He knew I wouldn't. The day I puked up chili dogs at the ballpark and told him, I just want to go home. My dad again, while mother worked the early shift. My daddy dipped me in milk gravy so thick and velvety, I wanted to play with it, mash it into the palm of my left hand. He offered biscuits before school on dark January days after the Christmas hangover. It was almost enough. How did a barrel-chested man learn this magic? He did too many wars, perhaps, softened like golden butter in a dizzy aftermath. Did you ever kill someone? I asked him. He never looked me in the eye to say one way or another. It was cold, like a scrambled yesterday. He hugged me like it mattered on Monday mornings as he led me, hand on shoulder, out into the world. I felt his warmth all day. My dad again. Subscription expired. The last time I saw my father, he was lying unconscious in a hospital bed. He had white wings that filled up the room. I didn't want to let him fly away, but what good would he have been with riddled lungs and blood leaking from every pore? I wanted him to stay my father. I wanted him to feel the need elsewhere, someplace new. It was like an old magazine, outdated, but still with words. And one more about my dad. Pink. Your art frightens me, like standing too close to the fire, leaning in to scoop out some memories. When my dad died in January, my friends had a bonfire and we roasted him until his skin was nice and crisp. I couldn't eat him because there were no sides, just meat, which was overdone. He never would have served that to anyone. About my sister not understanding poetry. I'm not sending my sister any more poems because I think they scare her, make her think I'm a sorcerer or a wizard. I mean, it's just a bunch of words strung together to make words, a bunch of letters. That's all it is, words strung together to paint pictures, snippets of life and dreams and hopes and schemes. Perhaps it's her elixir to pretend she doesn't understand how to unravel the pattern and solve part of the delicate mysteries. Maybe it's true that she really doesn't see through smoke and subsequently pokes holes with her fingers to see what she recognizes on the other side. I don't care if she can't digest the entire alphabet. From now on, if she asks to see them, I will make them a gift. And if she never utters another word about my poems, that will be just fine. And a stepbrother, a new skin. 1. Vietnam is more than a rancid memory. Kites gone wild, escaping over rice paddies, skinny kids with visible ribs, happy without knowing their poison history. 2. My older brother Bob never came back. he was teaching English as a second language, which I find ironic. American bombs belted his school and everything in it, souls evaporating like hot lava back into the sea. 3, I ate there last March, slept in straw pallets with hospitable families who never quit smiling, offering me spices and spring rolls and thin delicious soups and hot peppers that made me cry. I tasted Bob's skin, and it was good. That's my family. And now, rules, rules, rules. Who sits around and think of all of these rules? Back in the winter, I was at the Cordy Center in Highland doing my morning laps. I know I have the body of a swimmer. And I noticed there were rules for the hot tub. And when I got into the pool, there were rules for the pool. And next to the pool was the water slide. And there were rules for the water slide. So I took these rules one at a time, went home and wrote a poem about them. And this one's about the hot tub. Nope, this is one of the rules. No more than 12 at one time in the hot tub. In New Orleans, they always squeeze in one more than a dozen and call it lanyard. But in this hot tub, that breaks the rules. The Gestapo will whisk you away to the gulag, strip you of your dignity, and confiscate your membership card. I've seen it done, so don't get any ideas. I suppose some designer of hot tubs and saunas sat down with a computer program and created an algorithm to determine the optimal number of bodies for this particular model. She was paid well, met her friends at a boutique bar in Chicago, and bought a round of drinks for the entire table. On a normal day, there would be 2 of us. I prefer the jet on the south wall. It feels good on my left hip, which gets sore from turning the wrong way at my desk. The lifeguard watches us as if we might have sex. That could bring a prison sentence that would last longer than me. A dozen of us in our present state would probably not fit. Someone would have to sit in the middle, surrounded by legs in all of those spaces. That would be just too damn weird. And then, this one arrived about 3 weeks ago. And this is personal ad poetry. Now, you don't have to raise your hand and admit that you submitted an ad to a dating service. But there are millions of people worldwide who have done that. In this book, there are 22 fictitious characters who did it. And I'll introduce you to one. And if you want to read the others, it's for sale. Musician, and this is what it looks like. Columns, like you might see in an ad. Musician looking for his niche. Hi out there. This is sort of awkward. I don't know what to write here. I've never done this, so here goes. Let's say that my name is William. I'm a media specialist by trade, but my first love is music. I play 3 different instruments. I've been in 2 rock and roll bands and a big city orchestra. I had to move to a smaller town 5 years ago, and I can't find my place. Maybe you can help. I'm looking for good friends, ones that I can count on. Is that asking too much? But I expect no lying and smoking. Social drinking is fine, and I'm 420 friendly. You can see what I look like when we meet for the first time. If you don't like what you see, or if you don't like me after a few minutes, you can get up and leave. No questions asked. By the way, I collect doll heads and antique surgical instruments. I do hope that we can meet and become friends. And a few favorites. Drinking martinis in the shower while Glenn Campbell shaves off his beard. Glenn Campbell is in my bathroom shaving off his thick silver beard. I carry my third martini into the shower stall and tell him to never mind me. I've got to shower and please don't hurry on my account. Have you ever drunk a martini in the shower? Have you ever drunk a martini while Glenn Campbell shaves off his beard in your bathroom? I step behind the glass door, holding my arms out to the side, away from the pulsating jet of water, and think about midnight cowboys and silver-studded guitars. I wash my hair with one hand and begin to hum his songs, a medley of sorts. Glenn Campbell looks innocent with baby skin cheeks and a hairless belly. I couldn't stop, he said. I might not be able to shave myself too much longer, and I wanted to be able to have control. It's all a delicate matter. Glenn Campbell steps into the shower as I step out. I smell the barber saw and shaving cream and see some blood drops on the tiles beneath the sink. I am saddened and wipe up the mess before he knows what has happened. I would hate Glenn Campbell to feel one iota of embarrassment. Metamorphosis. Too many boats named Calypso and Minnow. So many tadpoles in the ditch behind your house. The first time I saw them, I lost my breath. Tadpoles eat their tails, grow into frogs, and leave the water. They hop into beds and make bumpy cover. The boats never leave except to trade places with tadpoles. There are pink frogs in New England that live under piers in quiet bays and harbors. I've seen them. I tasted them accidentally. Maybe there are no pink frogs in New England. Maybe I made that up. If they are there, with hydraulic pads stuck sucking the bottom part of the handrails, they have trouble leaving my skin. I counted 4 in 1 week. Warmest breezes of summer. I cupped hurricane vapors in my palms, prayed while boats hissed past in the night. Calypso 10, fantastic nag, bump in the night, mighty minnow. And one more. And this is after Margaret Atwood. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but she's got staying power, folks. I really like her work. This is called More Notes on Wolves. 1. When a wolf watches you through your kitchen window while you wash dishes, she's not thinking about the best way to cook your flesh. She's more sophisticated than that. She's waiting for you to make some kind of mistake, like emptying the trash before the moon comes up. 2. My wolf has licorice breath and paints her nails indigo because she's hip and articulate. She understands more about us than we do. She doesn't need to know how to draw Punnett squares and count progeny. Genetics is under her skin. 3. Boy wolves never think they'll end up in a zoo. They prance boldly through fair streets while the barflies guzzle just one more beer for the road. They crouch behind serrated hedges and lick their chops for appetizers. 4. Wolf nightmares involve speeding BMWs along icy streets, curvy roads, mesmerized chickens in rusted cages, and misdirected souls who have lost the desire to drink coffee. Wolves always have the last word. Thank you.
Oh man, we had dinner beforehand and some drinks. I'm very disappointed we didn't get to talk about dysfunctional Southern families. So I'll have to come back to that at some point. All right. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Tim Fox, though primarily a magazine editor and widely published nonfiction editor, has written poetry since his childhood in St. Joseph, Missouri. He finds poetry to be a shortcut to emotion, and he likes the poems best that comes to him when he's not trying to write poetry at all. Indeed. Tim lives in Southampton with his wife Ellen Reed Fox and daughter Kate. Tim, it's all you.
Thanks, everybody. You may find this hard to believe, but John and I did not collude before the reading because a lot of the first part of his reading about family, I think you'll see a lot of parallels with some of my work. My first poem is called Parents, and that's what it's about. Every day I become my mother. I give my last dollar to some stranger on the street. Say hello to everyone I meet. You see that guy over there with the ugly dog? I say to him, wow, what a pretty dog. See that woman over there with the ugly kid? I say to her, wow, what a pretty kid. Then I keep on walking, smiling all the way. And every day, I become my father. I take the long way around a story, and I'm always ready with a joke. See that man over there stuck on the road, but I'm running out of time? I tell him, it's all right, buddy. I got time. See this dude over here, down on his luck? I say, here, pal, take this one last dime. And I keep on walking, smiling anyway. You think you can make me angry? You can't make me mad. You think you can make me grouchy? You can't make me sad. Thank you. This next one's about parenthood from the other direction. And I hate to say it, Kenneth, but in 8 years, you may be able to relate to this poem. It's called You Can't Make Him Love You. You can have great thoughts, but no one cares. You can walk around the house in your underwear. You can write songs and poems too. You can do anything you want to do, but you can't make them love you. No, you can't make them love you. You sure can't make them love you. Not like you used to do. You can tell them all about the good old days. You're going to tell them anyways. You can let a soft teardrop fall from your jaundiced eye. You can tell them, I'll never say goodbye. You can roll up a newspaper and swat at a fly. You can slip off to sleep with an easy sigh. But you can't make them love you. No, you cannot make them love you. You can't make them love you, not like you used to do. Both of those songs, they are songs, but they're poems inspired by Randy Newman, who's a singer-songwriter that's very good at expressing big ideas in really few words. And that's what I was trying to do with those two poems. This next one is also by a singer-songwriter who was also very good at expressing big ideas in few words. And that's Leonard Cohen, who died a few years ago. And this one's about an unreliable narrator. It's called Careful With Me. Be careful with me. I've set a bad example. Be careful with me. I might tear out your heart. Be careful with me. I may rip down your temple. Be careful with me. I'll stop before I start. The things I've done, I wouldn't recommend them. The things I've done are advisable to no one. The things I've done are from the lion's den. The three things I've done make me the prodigal son. In that old tale, they welcomed him with kisses. In that old tale, they killed the fatted calf. In that old tale, they gave him loaves and fishes. In that old tale, they cut the kid in half. So be careful with me. I really don't know nothing. Be careful with me. I live by sleight of hand. Be careful with me. My words are really something. Be careful with me, or I'll fill your eyes with sand. A few years ago, a friend of mine's father died, and he described his father on Facebook as best he could, because he never knew him growing up, but as he got older and he was a musician, his father would sometimes show up at his performances, and then afterwards they'd get together and drink and carry on, and then his father would disappear for another 3 or 4 years. And so he had very mixed emotions about his relationship with his father, and this poem is about that. It's called Undifferentiated. What is it, anyway, this merger of sperm and egg, and on what night of love or loneliness, celebration or debauchery, fooling around or intervention by men in white coats whose only real expertise is making the less possible more possible. The man's part grows apart from him. It does not need him, really. Once the dividing and subdividing begins, a mass of cells in a sea of hormones, undifferentiated, not even fully sexed, for weeks. And even then, who knows what it will become, who it will love, who it will fear, who it will run to when the storm comes, or when the shadow on the wall becomes, like it, something else. But something else is there, of course, from the man who left the sperm, whether of love or loneliness, celebration or debauchery, fooling around or intervention. Something else that does not care, that he loves, other finds, that he finds, other loves, that he travels the world without you. Something else that makes him never without you, and you never without him, even if you wanted to be, even if you were angry that he was not always there, or that he accumulated friends the way other people accumulate wealth. But it doesn't matter anyway, because he was often there when it mattered. For your own shows or celebrations or whatever, fooling around or debauchery, listening to the music only he could hear, maybe, lying his ear against your mother's swollen belly, while you did your magic tricks of dividing and subdividing on your way to becoming whatever you would become. So what is it? Here are some ideas. It's the plump of the falling acorn. It's the drop that makes the ocean. It's the ore that is the mine. It's the hand that turns the clock. It's the first opposite motion of the tightest string on the first guitar you ever played, moving the molecules that were always there, but that will never be in the same place ever again. Again, going back to the theme of family, I have all of my uncles on my dad's side, and my dad himself are incredible woodworkers. and carvers. And I received absolutely none of that skill. But I often think that writing is a lot like woodworking or sculpture. This poem is called Writers and Woodworkers, and the language gets a little rough at the end, so I apologize. Writers and Woodworkers. The writer watches the woodworker, who shapes and molds inert wood to his whim, carves and curls the thin wood, peeling in almost translucent strips. How did this gene skip him, he wonders, this weird skill to look through wood and see life within it, shapes concealed and then revealed, the wood made flesh. The woodworker keeps peeling. The shape unseen becomes seen. He stops to stand it gently, a lover's hand on naked wood, switches to a knife, carves and cuts more carefully, the wood falling now in slivers, not slips, at his feet. Finally, he hands it to you, the wooden miracle, a thing that did not exist before except as a stick, a block, a fallen limb in the forest, dead as druids. And you, in turn, hand your paper to him, also once wood, where you have been scribbling and scratching as he's been carving. He reads it and turns to you and says, "How in the fuck did you do that?" As a kid, I was always interested in science, and then later years, I've gotten interested in physics, at least from an very amateur level. And this mashes that interest up with some things that I've felt over my lifetime. It's called gravity. I don't take naps because waking up is too much work. The move from horizontal to vertical, gravity pulling limbs and organs as if to say, no, stay just where you are. The inertia that spins the earth, the force created by the spinning is too much for you, too dear. It demands too much. And when you rest, it only demands more. The door slammed shut. The varying explanations, the querulous looks of 1,000 inquisitors who just want to know, well, what did you do wrong this time? And by the time you realize those voices are traveling on their own and in your own head, you may as well be asleep again for all the good it does. And for all the good you do, spinning on your rock where the G-forces pull you when they don't tear you apart, the good deeds never gone unpunished, the kind word never heard, the favor never noticed, the inevitability of failure. As sure as two balls falling from the already leaning tower of Pisa will hit the earth at exactly the same time. That poem and this next one have something in common in that a lot of times when I have poems come to me midstream, I'll go off another direction, and there seems to be no connection. But often I just leave them that way because I figure it's, making a connection would strain it too much, and that there must be some reason the connection that association came to me. Although I don't always understand what it is. But this one has a lot of imagery toward the middle of my childhood, growing up in St. Joseph, Missouri, and it's called Stretch Goals. I'll tie myself onto the rack, and if you want, I'll tie you too. Then we'll stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch until we snap in two. then my good half and your good half can run away and play. And we'll just leave those other halves to stretch and stretch away. A sliced up golf ball on the grass, the morning sun in dew, the water flowing under ice before the day's undone. You're late for school, the car is here, the creek is on the rise. You couldn't have known me better than through my gray disguise. Better here than over there, with all the halves left behind. Better here than over there. It wasn't that good then, never mind. And finally, I too have a poem about a family member. This is about my mother. It's called Grace. I am my mother's son. I stay open to change, a bridge builder who hopes but keeps what I expect behind the veil of me. My mom adapted fast while I create patterns to give my days a beat that makes me you, but also brings out the best in you. But with her and you, I learned eyes open always, ears wide to music, bearing witness of wonder all around. Because who knows when love breaks out or grace will come around. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You all are making me jealous of your ability to write about family with skill. Our last reader for the evening is Jim Hanson, a retired senior researcher at Southern Illinois University Carbondale, where he worked and taught in community development. He has a doctorate degree in sociology and is a lay-ordinated Zen Buddhist. In past years, he has published 2 books through Greenwood Publishing Group and numerous articles in social science and philosophy. His current interest is writing poems about death. He resides with his wife in Collinsville, Illinois. Please welcome Jim Hanson.
Good evening. I'm going to read 9 poems from my collection just published by Spartan Press. And copies are available if you wish to buy one. Its title is Endless Journey, so you'll hear some poetic diversity here. The journey here consisting of a calling, then struggle, transcendence, and disillusion, as described by Joseph Campbell, who attracted my attention decades ago. He's always been in my thinking. The poems are organized along this classic storyline. And so I will start with the opening poem, Heralding Life as a Journey. Journey's Call. The journey calls you to adventure, smelling of lotus flowers at the feet of Gandhi marching to Salt Flats, witnessing Paul's conversion on the road to Damascus, arising from Dante's soul, from Inferno to Paradiso, or to your own adventure to start another day, as you walk a path in the park and hear birds calling forth thoughts to seek out unknown things, safeguarded by angels who travel with you, like Leonard Cohen wanting to travel with Suzanne, trusting her perfect body and mind along the way. The journey takes you away from home to travel over rocky paths, barren lands, and hazardous places, through shadows of clouded days and shrouded darkness. Often off course to strange lands sailed by Odysseus, or places like Yeats's Byzantium, not fit for old men, like me. Yet you know where to go and what turn to take, not by map route, compass direction, or CPS, by something encoded within your DNA and foretold in a dream of ominous image, coming from forces of power not seen, by something beyond drawing you forward like a magnetic force. And you want to walk through that golden gate to view the world below as if you were God. Then the journey turns and comes back where you are directed by the homing instinct, not heard, but felt as an eternal return, an homage to the past brought back alive from dreams that never die or answer why. Your journey returns to life of time to end. After the calling ensues the struggle that starts with time, lost irredeemably. Two roads diverge in the yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. That's said by Robert Frost. Road not taken. There is only one choice made for youthful passions running in all directions. In departure from home to places unknown, in love with somebody there at the time, in college curricula stamping career degrees, and jobs with wary strangers and scary bosses. There is only one choice left by fleeting seasons and lost chances. No do-overs, redos, replays, retracts, comebacks, no life or parallel lives as in heroic novels. No timeouts to weigh and measure opportunities. No holding what was in the present, already gone. But what if freed from another love or deed, only one pivotal turn already tried and take, excuse me. What if freed from another love or deed, could, should, would have said and done of possibilities, still unsaid, undone? No, there was but one preemptive choice, only one pivotal turn already tried and taken by hard habit and soft convenience. Opportunities frittered and splintered away, dalliances of yet another passing day. So little, so much, too early, too late. One choice for one life at one time. The old man finishes his poem, drinks the bourbon in his glass, rises to walk across the room, lies in bed of beckoning sleep, recalls his mother's distant words. I think only of your happiness. Another short poem about lost time. Never there. You hear the freight train sound coming low and going high. Waves of sound in night rippling through the air, spreading everywhere between the relativity of time and motion. You are always here by yourself to hear as a lone station in time and space. You are never there in real time with the train, which already left on tracks outside. No journey, the poor. No one there. Abandoned road, aching cold, dim light, shadows of fright, spoiling trash, whiskey mash, urine slime, alley grime, creatures homeless, nameless, figures scuttled, huddled, foul fires of garbage pyres, hazy stare of dirty air, empty figures, exhausted riggers, tossed, lost, no face, no place. Jesus saves melancholy sounds, no glow of barren grounds, no smell of flowers blooming, no feel of hands grooming, no hope or future, no warmth or nurture, no one there to care. Okay, here are some poems about transcendence. Starting with Mara, the Buddhist equivalent of the devil, who appeals to the desires of self. Yourself, myself, everybody's self. Called Let Him Go. From the trees of Jeta Grove, the Buddha whispers in my ear. Let Mara go, as things come and go, the good and the bad that would be had. Oh, one to revere, I have not him. He has me and will not let go. Oh, do not fear. He has yourself. If it's let go, he has nothing. The whisper fades back into the trees within a breeze that clears all karma, free from attachment to good and bad, as all things go when no longer had. God chase. God is the tail I chase in a circle, like a dog mistaking itself for someone else. As for God, the circle does not matter, for my mistaking someone else by becoming back to myself. As for me, the circle will break, ending with no beginning, passing myself away. I know only circles and squares, without any equation to square the circle. God knows the equation without fail, while I am the dog still chasing my tail. One more about God. Duking God. John Wayne, on his deathbed, summons a priest, prays and confesses to receive Catholic baptism, anointing and viaticum for the first time of his life. He takes this one chance to obtain absolution, to repent his sins, and absolve his pagan past for the last time in his life. Later that day, he mounts his horse and rides off into the sunset, up to his final roundup in Technicum. Amen, pilgrim. Kill him. If you see the Buddha, kill him, Winchi shouted lineages ago during Buddhism's golden age. Harsh but true about any heralded arhat, since the only living Buddha is within. You are killing only your delusion. Even Christians warn about craven images. So kill the Christ, it's only just and fair. Yet the Buddha and Christ are still with you on the path to the same altar, upholding the mysteries of heaven and nirvana. Things are collapsing here. Okay, I'll try not to lean on it. Two more poems about hope over dissolution by Walt Whitman, or I should say about Walt Whitman and about a bird. Whitman's song. The American dream came after the morning of the Great Awakening, and with the day glistening of the vistas of sprawling seaports and railroads laid across across green plains and through western heights of purple mountains under skies open to an endless frontier, all celebrated through the poems of Walt Whitman as an outpouring of self. Not a transcendental self of Emerson, not a pedestrian self of Wordsworth, but a self of the earth. I do it this way. Can you, tighten that a little more?
Try that.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, where were we? All celebrated by Walt Whitman. Not as an outpouring of self, not a transcendental self of Emerson, not a pedestrian self of Wordsworth, but a self of the earth, leaves and grass, of good health to filter and fiber the blood, of common working men and nurturing women, of the American free soul and democratic spirit, moving into the wind to western frontiers, calling to come forth to faraway plains, fertile and inviting, feral and waiting. I stop somewhere waiting for you. He still sings his beckoning song, stopping somewhere on that long island, then known as Paumanok by native people, where grass still grew and leaves adorned, where the air was clear and water pure, where the virgin wonders of nature still stir. His song now fades on this long island, an unreal city of concrete wasteland. Its buildings scraping sky and blocking sun, lighting the night and dimming once bright stars. Its sidewalks bustling with bodies fast forward, hustling and busting out one door and into another. Its boulevards streaming with steel vehicles, emitting noxious fumes of roaring engines, its ports filled with ships, spewing forth boxcars of goods from global expropriation. Its economy working people, not harvesting the grass of nurture. Its culture fashioning people, not celebrating the leaves of nature. But listen, and you still may hear those murmurings of Whitman in your ear, meant for all the people of your day whose American dream has gone astray. Last poem. Waterbird. Laws of thermodynamics clash as conservation yields to entropy, and gravity diminishes in space, and energy extinguishes in time. Science foretells the end of the universe and civilization, and religious appeals to gods to save a place, yet lost without trace. So the universe scatters, and all this matters for the anthropic principle to conserve forms of matter and life. And nothing matters when the way is lost, when all form shatters and dimensions tossed. Yet, a bird from water flies, flies away, leaving no trace, and always will know where to go to find its place. That's all I brought.
All right, well, it is precisely 8:30, so I'm going to go ahead and take the opportunity and just start to close this up. Thank you so much for coming. Our next reading is September 27th, when our readers will be this little-known poet, Jane Ellen Iver. as well as Alex Ballog and Maria Ballog will be together, which will be quite a treat. Just a reminder that you'll be able to view tonight's reading, particularly on Facebook after tonight. So a huge thank you to those checking out this video after August 23rd. Thank you to Jim, to Tom, to John for sharing their work with us. If you yourself want to read in the series, please do be in touch, or you know somebody who you think would be interested in reading a poetry at that point, please do let me know. Come talk to me afterwards, or send me a message at poetry.point@stlewispoetrycenter.org. Thanks to Aaron Quick, our executive director, for doing all the heavy lifting every single month making this work. Special shout out to Brittany Cordera, who stepped in to run the tech this evening. Thank you so much for doing that. Thanks to all of you for showing up this evening and supporting local poetry, whether in person or online. It's good to see you all. Good night. Take care of each other and have a good one.